Let's go. This is Donald from the Pinstripe Chronicles. I got my guy Rob over here, and we are going to break down a fun Yankee Red Sox series, and big day for our man, who we've always had a little bit of faith in. And that's Peraza. I'm really glad that he stepped up, and we got a grand slam from Aaron Judge. So let's get rocking and rolling here. We got the chat already buzzing. Let's see who we got. We got Joe Barros. What up? Good morning, Donald, and my son Rob. Good morning, Rob. NFE. We got that, my guy right there. We got Damian Serrano. Hello. We got NFE. What up, NFE? Got Medina. We got Medina in the chat. What is up? We got Medina in the house. Who else we got in the house? Who else we got? Got a retired war vet. All right. Good morning, Uncle Tats, Rob, Donald, and my Yankee chat family. Salute to everyone in the chat. Dev Finch, of course. Dev Finch, hello. Really good to see everybody in the chat early. And fun game, Rob. What did you think?
Fun series. Taking 3 out of 4. Couple of rain delays, but a couple of double headers, actually. That's unusual, but I'll take a series win against the Red Sox anytime I can get it. Whether we both suck or whether we both are good, I'm going to take it. We saw some good things. Peraza, as you mentioned earlier, had a really good series, had a really good game last night. He's been boiling hot over his last week, and it's good to see what we've all been saying. Give the guy regular at-bats, and what's he going to do? He's going to produce. So that's what we're starting to see from him. Aaron Judge finally hit a home run because it's been about 2.5 weeks since he's actually done something productive at the plate. And I was starting to say shut him down, but then he goes and hits a grand slam. So that was nice to see Judge get back on the power swing. And just overall a good series. We're trying to end the season on a high note, get something to be hyped about. It's been a lot of doom and gloom all year, especially after we get Dominguez, the injury news he's going to have Tommy John. They're thinking 9 to 10 months, which just seems like a nightmare. And for us to take 3 out of 4 against Boston, it's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, what do you see in terms of Peraza's approach at the plate? Do you think that it's a little different? Do you think there's something that he's been working on, which is allowing him to square up on pitches now?
He just looks more comfortable. He's kind of been changing between that leg kick and the toe tap a little bit. It's not just one, and the leg kick is a little bit shorter when he does it compared to last year. It was a much bigger, higher leg kick. So he just looks more comfortable. Looks like he's seeing the ball better, and which we've been saying is that he just needs to get more at bats. He needs to get more playing time, regular playing time. Enough of this play him, sit him. Just let him play, and you're going to see production. He didn't hit that way in the minors by accident. He has the ability to hit and hit really well. It's not like he was hot for a week in AA, went to AAA, got hot for a couple of games. He was really good in every level of the minor leagues. And as is the case with young players, he's still very, very young. When you're going to see, and he did go back to that leg kick a little bit, but I saw a few games ago, he was doing the toe tap as well. So it's kind of like he's going in one or the other, depending on the at-bat or depending on the pitch, which might be a good thing. Maybe that's something Sean Casey taught him, but just overall comfort, he looks like he's just there. And he's not going to go anywhere. It looks like he knows this is his chance to seal a spot on the roster next year, whether that's at second or third, we don't know yet. And defensively as well, let's not forget he booted that one play, got a chance the very next play to turn 2 and made it look clean and easy. So I like the maturity, quick maturity from Peraza, and the results are starting to really show that he's got that bat that's major league ready.
I'm so happy for him, man. You saw how happy he was. He was like, "Vamos!" He was celebrating as he rounded the bases. That was awesome. He's got a little power in there. And it's just, as you say, man, it's about regular at bats. I've always been a big Peraza fan. His early struggles were not really representative of him because, as you say, I wasn't getting regular at-bats. He wasn't getting an opportunity. Every other day there was a chance he was going to get, sent down for 2-3 months. And that's just what he was having to deal with. And that's no way that you can develop anyone like that. So regarding the leg kick, it looks like it looks like Sean Casey's done the right thing with him. I think it's like, you know what, go with what you've been successful with in the past, and that's what I think what we're seeing with Peraza. Really smooth at third, very very smooth operator there, and I love what I see from him, man. I really want to see him get the third base job next year. I think he can platoon out with DJ LeMahieu, and I think we'd be absolutely fine. And with that, what we got from Damien here, I love Peraza, but I have a feeling Yankees want to trade him. I do too. Unfortunately, I do too. We've got an important message here from retired war vet. Let us not forget today is Prisoner of War MIA Recognition Day. Silent prayers on your time for those who are never forgotten. Absolutely salute Joe Barros. He also says here, thanks for the services and God bless. So yeah, let's take that opportunity to say thank you for your service to everyone, including RWV in the chat and anyone who watches us. Thank you so much for your service and for everything you do for our country. Rob?
Yeah, just repeat what you just said there, because we can't thank people enough for what they've done, especially in knowing that we have retired war vet in the chat every single day. So we have a chance to say thank you every single day. So we appreciate it. We love you, and you're the best. You are the best. But let's talk a little more. Let's talk some baseball again here. I'm sure everyone wants to talk more baseball as well. I don't know if they want to trade Peraza. I can see it. I can also see a scenario where they trade Torres and stick Peraza at second and use DJ as a third baseman. I don't know yet, but if Peraza plays like this, it's going to be difficult for the Yankees to move him, knowing they've got so much control over him, and he's going to be so cheap, whereas Torres is going to be on a 1 year, final year of arbitration, probably making close to $13 million. And if the Yankees are going to be spending big on Yamamoto, they might want to move some money around so they can bring in more players, and Torres could be a trade candidate. I still don't think they trade DJ, so you can't really worry about his money right now. I think the smart play is to keep Peraza, even if you keep Torres, is to keep Peraza at third, unless you're getting like an absolute stud in return for Peraza, but they've held him back in so many trade proposals at this point. I don't see how you can move him now that he's starting to show signs of life. Like, the time to move him would have been last year before you called him up when his prospect hype was up. But now that he's producing for you, you're going to have a hole in your infield next year, whether that's at second and third. I think they got to hold on to him. But I agree with Damien in the sense that I could see them being like, well, he showed a flash a little bit. Let's get him. Let's get rid of him now before he tanks, if he tanks or whatever, because we know how the Yankees can't develop prospects. So I really don't know, but I'd hold on to him. I think he's exactly what you need. Contact, a guy with some pop, great speed, and really good defense at multiple positions. He can play second. He can play third. I think you got to stick with him. But I can also see that scenario where they move him. It's a weird thing. If they want another pitcher, let's say the Marlins come off Gleyber Torres and go, what about Peraza? They might swing a deal with Miami if they hold on to Gleyber. I still don't know, but I'd hold on to him.
And if he thinks that Peraza stays with Hal wanting to stick with the youth movement, Dev Finch says, I don't believe in Cashman. I don't believe in him either. I have no idea what Cashman has in mind in the offseason. But I do tend to see where NFE's coming from with regard to Hal Steinbrenner. Hal, I think, is taking a bigger role in the organization, and that's because Cashman screwed it up so bad that maybe Hal's like, oh, you know what, maybe I do need to be a bit more of an owner. And so he looks like he's paying more attention, and that's why he didn't allow Cashman to trade any of these prospects, because he wanted to see these prospects. So there is a chance that we maybe get to see Peraza and Volpe on the right side of the infield. That would be great for us. I'd be excited to see the two of them. We've got Peraza third, Volpe short. That could work. To be honest, Peraza is a better shortstop than Volpe. I don't even think that's dispute. Peraza is a much better shortstop, but they have all their faith in Volpe. Volpe's done a fine job over in there in short, and not taking anything away from him. But Peraza is better. He's got a smoother glove, better arm. But anyway, I do want to make more room for Peraza. I've always liked him. I don't know. Since last year in limited capacity, I liked him. I thought there was something about him that I liked. I think that he seems very comfortable here. As you see from regular at bats, you're getting better at bats. You're seeing him squaring up to pitches. And, that guy left a cement mixer over the middle of the plate and that breaking ball, and he absolutely crushed it right over the monster. So, for instance, he squared up to a pitch that Giancarlo Stanton in the previous at-bat missed. He missed a cement mixer breaking ball right over the heart of the plate, and he fouled it off. But Peraza didn't. So it looks like Peraza is seeing these pitches a little better lately. And on that note, let's touch on Stanton. First of all, he's a statue in left field now. He didn't even make that ball that dropped for the RBI. I felt so bad for Schmidt. He was getting absolutely done by some terrible defense. Schmidt must be losing his mind. One of the RBI, Stanton, any left fielder would have gotten to that, but Stanton's a statue out there. And then multiple errors from Volpe as well. I felt bad for Schmidt. But as for Stanton, I'm a little concerned because he's missing pitches that I don't think he's ever missed in his career. There was a couple of at-bats. I could name 2 at-bats just last night alone where it was a changeup or a breaking ball right over the middle of the plate, and he was late on them. It's like he's not seeing the ball. And even though he leads the American League in hard hit balls, it means that when he does see a ball, he's still crushing it. So the power is still there. It's the timing. And it sucks. It sucks. And Damien agrees here. Oh my God, my guy Stanton has been dreadful. He's guessing at the plate. He looks terrible. I know Stanton is my guy too. I got his jersey. I love Big G, but I'm telling you, I don't understand why he's so late on these pitches. He is late. He is guessing. He is not seeing the ball, and he is not moving at all. Like, his movement is getting worse. Last year, he was a passable outfielder. Now, I don't even think you can say that. Like, he's just letting balls drop. He looks like Jose Canseco out there in the outfield, and that's really saying something. And that's steroids, Jose Canseco, when he couldn't move. When the Yankees had him out there in '99, he couldn't move. They were sticking him out there in the outfield. Stanton looked like that yesterday, and he is missing pitches that he should not be missing. Like Peraza crushed it over the wall. Judge had the same pitch, crushed it over the wall for a grand slam. Stanton had a couple of those pitches, and he's fouling them off. So there's something to be worried about. Rob, what are you seeing with Big G?
I see the power is still there when he makes contact.
Yep.
I see that he looks like he's afraid to run because his legs are shot. And I think he's been playing hurt all year since they called him back from the IL. And that's not fair to him, but at the same time, he's been hurt so often that everyone's just kind of like numb to it and they don't really care anymore. I'm looking at his just overall numbers right now. First of all, MLB.com has his number as 21. But, if anyone doesn't know why that is today, it's Roberto Clemente Day. So just letting everybody know, everyone's going to be wearing 21. Because I was a little confused at first when I saw it. I was like, Paul O'Neill's not back. And then I remember today they're going to be celebrating Clemente. So that's a good thing everyone's wearing 21. But he's hitting just 196. I can live with a lower average. I said it like a week ago or maybe a week and a half ago that if Stanton in the latter half of this contract, let's say the next 3-4 years we have him, if he becomes a Joey Gallo-esque hitter with a low average, high on base, power and slugging in good spot, OPS over 800, you're going to live with that. He's no longer going to be that 280 hitter, near 300 hitter he was a few years ago. But he needs to be healthy, and that's always the biggest thing with him. And every single year we say that if Stanton is healthy, he's going to produce. Because look at 2021. He was healthy, and he had a great season. Look at last year before the All-Star break. He was playing at an MVP level. He made the All-Star game for a reason. Look at this year before he got hurt. He was hitting. He was playing well. Nobody was complaining about Giancarlo Stanton.
He
He
was an
is,
all-star.
yeah, he gets hurt all the time, and it's a shame because he's still a really good player, in my opinion. He's still a guy that if you stick him in the lineup, you're going to get 30 home runs just by accident because of how hard he hits the ball. So everyone's going to be like, everyone wants to go back in time and be like, oh, you should never have made that trade. And I still say you make that trade every day of the week, but they have to find a way this offseason. I don't know if it's hot yoga. I don't know if it's putting him on that Peloton bike with that fucking life coach yelling at you the whole time. Whatever you have to do to keep this guy healthy for the duration of the season next year, even if it's playing him twice and then sitting, playing him twice and then sitting, I don't care. As long as he's healthy from March till September and October, you have to avoid that IL stint because when he goes on the IL, it's not like it's like a 10-day thing and he's just okay. Oh, he's got a nagging toe or a nagging thing. He'll be back from it. No, he gets hurt and it lingers the whole entire season. That happened last year. He played hurt after the break and he wasn't the same player. This year, he's playing hurt, coming back from the IL in June, and you can clearly see it's affecting him. But when he makes contact, it goes 1,000 feet. So the power's still there. 23 home runs while he's having one of his worst seasons is not you can tell the power's still there. He's still one of our better run producers, which is a shame when you think about it overall, the overall picture. The fact that he's having this bad of a year, but he's one of our top RBI guys. The production can still be there, but you also have to know certain things about his game are going to change. So if he has to be a lower average guy, but that on base is still 330 plus and the slugging is still over 500, you're going to live with that. That's an 830 OPS player. Just because he has a low batting average, I couldn't care, but he has to be healthy. They have to find some way to keep him off the IL next year and in the next couple of years, because you're not going to get good production from Stanton if he's playing hurt every single year.
It's a great point, man. I mean, I agree with you. If you had him batting in the sixth hole and he's giving you a 220 batting average, but he's consistently putting over 30 home runs a year up for you, then you take it. You take it. If he's got an 800 OPS, you take it. And unfortunately, he's just not done it. I mean, as you say, when he was healthy last year, prior to the All-Star break, he was an All-Star. So he's not forgotten how to hit, but I am concerned about the timing and the constant muscle injuries on his legs. And I just don't know how he can do that over a season. Like over 162, I don't know how they're going to do it because they've tried everything with Stanton. They've tried resting him a couple days a week. Makes zero difference. They might as well play him every single day until he gets hurt because these intermittent days off makes no difference at all because he still gets hurt. And not only does he get hurt, but it lingers for months. So these hamstring injuries, it seems to be a strain that just carries and carries and carries. And now he's basically walking out there. And I don't know how you handle that. But as for the contract and the trade, I'm not going to play Monday morning quarterback. I wanted that trade when it happened. I was like, wow, this is legit. And I think it was a great deal at the time. I think it's a no-brainer. And by and large, when healthy, but that's the big, that's the
big if.
That's the big words right there. When healthy, he has been productive. Unfortunately, he's not been healthy in a while, and he's not been productive. But I still stand by the guy, and I still stand by the trade. But geez, it was hard to watch him yesterday. But let's not harp on the negative. It was really good to see Aaron Judge hit a grand slam. 32 home runs. He's fourth in the American League in home runs, and he's already missed 3 months of the season, and he's already got 32 home runs. It's insane. Imagine if he didn't break his toe, then this Yankee season, we'd have a playoff team, regardless. I'm sure. Yeah. We'd have a wild card team anyway, and he'd probably be on 50 home runs. He's just that kind of guy. Aaron Judge is incredible, and it's quite clear that teams are pitching around him. Like the amount of walks that he's racking up, even when he's not producing, he's still getting on base at a good clip because he's getting a lot of walks. Nobody wants to pitch to him. He's getting the Barry Bonds treatment. But every time they do leave a pitch over the plate, it is gone 500 feet. That's what Aaron Judge is, man. He's just incredible.
Yeah, and just you look at, I mentioned earlier, because his numbers have not been good over the last month. But at this, even though he's hitting 190, he still has a 341 on base. So that tells you everything. They're not pitching to him. They don't want it. They have no reason to pitch to him. Nope. Even when Dominguez was hitting for the week that he was here, they didn't pitch to Aaron Judge. Like the only guy you're really afraid of now is Torres, but he's hitting, and he's the only guy that you really want to not deal with aside from Judge. Even in the last 30 games, you're like 190, but his OPS is still plus 800. So like that's Aaron Judge. He only has 20 hits in his last 30 games. 10 of them have gone over the wall. So even when he's not being pitched to, he's still producing. So it's clear as day he is the best player on this team. He is still one of the best players I still think he's the best player in baseball. And it's a damn shame that he missed as much time as he did because we probably would be pushing for a playoff spot right now. And it's a damn shame they didn't build a better team around this guy because you're clearly seeing, you saw it last year when they refused to pitch to him. They had to bat him lead off. I said this countless times. He carried us to the postseason because they were collapsing, and you're seeing it now. Even when he's dealing with a broken toe, they don't want to pitch to him, and he's still finding ways to produce in the game. And so build a better team around him. Build a better team around Aaron Judge. Get better hitters around him. Get him better protection. Hopefully Rizzo's healthy next year. Hopefully Stanton's better next year. That's certainly going to help. And when you get Dominguez back, maybe they do add Cody Bellinger, and there'll be a lot more protection around Aaron Judge because he's the guy that makes this lineup go. Where he goes, they follow. That's why he's the captain. That's why he's the leader of this team. And yeah, every time he does, even if it's just one home run in 10 games, it's a big one. Grand slam. Let me get myself off the schneid real quick. Let me hit a grand slam and put the team in the lead. Like that's what a captain does. So I'm just real pissed at this front office for not building a better team around him because, and Spencer brought it up about the Judge contract. What do you think it's going to look like in 7, 8, 9 years? People are going to be complaining if he starts to break down a little bit, but it's the first few years of this deal. We really have to try to win a championship. Maybe the first 5 until he hits like 35 years old. You have to try to win at least one because if you waste the prime of this kind of player, and they already have to this point, the fans are never going to forgive you for it. So they got to have a very busy offseason to build around him. And I don't know about Lee. I don't know if they're going to pursue him because with Bellinger, he can move to first. With Lee, he's an outfielder, and they don't want to get rid of Spencer Jones, and they don't want to move Dominguez, and Judge ain't going anywhere. So Lee, I would take Lee in a heartbeat, but I don't see the Yankees going after him, knowing they have Dominguez coming back, knowing they have Spencer Jones, who's going to be ready as soon as next year. I don't see them going after Lee. I can see Bellinger being more realistic because you can put him in left or put him in center, get Dominguez back. Bellinger goes to first after next season when Rizzo's gone, and you've got first base still figured out with the big lefty bat.
Cashman's going to have to overpay for Bellinger, though. He could have gone him at a discount, a real discount.
And in a trade.
That's what I'm talking about. This is like a general manager that doesn't foresee things. He doesn't look ahead. He doesn't plan. He doesn't look like he doesn't foresee that maybe this guy could actually like in a change of circumstance, really help us. Let's go and get him when the value is low. We can get him at a discount, and we will be good for a couple of years. Now, Bellinger's going to cost a ton in free agency, an absolute ton. And the Yankees, again, that's what they did with Aaron Judge. They easily could have foreseen that it's freaking incredible and he was going to have a monster year. Maybe I should give him what he wanted a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't need to pay him $360 million over 9 years because the Padres and the Giants were about to get him after a 62 home run year. Brian Cashman just doesn't seem to foresee things. He just doesn't have that what he did years and years ago. But as to Bellinger, I would love Bellinger, but yeah, I'm quite excited by Lee too. But I'll tell you what, man, the Yankees have already wasted the prime of Garrett Cole. He's having a Cy Young year, and they're a last place team, So they're already wasting Garrett Cole. They've wasted Aaron Judge having a 62 home run year last year. Wasted that. And how many more years are they going to waste? Negligence and poor roster construction. But I do want to pick up on what your dad says here. This season may have been a disaster, but I'm certainly looking forward to next year. It's going to be exciting. Actually, you know what? I kind of agree. There's a lot there. There's some pieces here that you can build with. There are pieces. Like, you can stick with Gleyber Torres at second because he's had a very productive bat. I think you could probably look at a contract for him. Bring Rizzo back. I assume the concussion will be cleared up by then, and he should be back to where he was. You got first and second short. You got Volpe short. You got DJ and Peraza that can play third. It's a pretty good team so far. They need a left fielder. They need a brilliant left fielder. They need a left fielder that can give you 30 home runs. They need a 30 home run left fielder for sure.
Bellinger.
Cody Bellinger would be that guy. Center field, it looks like you got your guy in Dominguez, but you will need to give him a little bit of help. A good veteran that can maybe bat switch or bat left, whatever, bat from the left side. That would help a lot. A little bit of power, but right field got Aaron Judge. DH, hey, Stanton's probably going to be the DH, but if he gives you 20, 25, 30 home runs, you take that. So there's a team there, but they desperately need a left fielder, probably need another outfielder as well. And they do need to look at first base because I don't know how long you're going to ride with Rizzo. You might even want to try Spencer Jones out in the minors to play first base. Get him used to that. That would be something I would consider. But, there is a team there. And then catcher, it would be, you're looking like you could have Wells there. That would be our catcher. Wells and Higashioka, I think, would do a fine job there. But it might be smart to look at another catcher in free agency that maybe has a little bit more power. But I'd certainly like Wells to share the duties. And as for the pitching, listen, Garrett Cole, Rodon, I think Schmidt has merited that job as a number 5 pitcher. You got King. King's being stretched out, and King looks like he could be a decent starter. Maybe he could be a Ramiro Mendoza, where he'd be like a 5th starter / mop-up guy, middle reliever. You could kind of do both. King could possibly be that guy.
I think that's Brito now. Honestly, Brito's taking that role.
So you think Brito. King's going to be a starter? Yeah, when his numbers look great as a starter. Fantastic. And Yamamoto, he could be our number 3 or number 2. That's a great rotation. Get yourself a closer and have Canely and Holmes as setup guys. That's a team. That's a decent team. That's a playoff caliber team.
That's a really good team, and I think they have to get Yamamoto. I think they really have to, because I think it's going to be the Yankees and Mets are in a bid for him. It's going to be a bidding war. Yesterday there was that report that apparently the Yankees and Red Sox were talking Clark Schmidt for Verdugo at the deadline. I don't know if there was anything else attached to that, but that was a rumor that was getting floated around. And I'm not going to lie, I really, really like Clark Schmidt, but I've also seen how the Yankees fail to develop pitching after one good year. I would have pulled the trigger on that trade. Verdugo would have been like our second best hitter if we had made that move. So, and I know people don't want to hear because they can't stand Verdugo, but and I'm not saying that I don't like Clark Schmidt because I do feel like he's earned himself a spot in this rotation next year, whether that's a number 4, number 5 starter. He's earned it because he's been really good after a terrible first month and a half or so. But I've seen the failures of this team when it comes to developing pitching. I don't think that'd be such a bad idea. Not saying I would run to the table like do it, but we need so much help in the outfield, and I would have made that trade. Honestly, I know people don't want to hear that, but I would have made that trade. I think something else would have been attached to it because Schmidt still has like 4 years and Verdugo has a year and a half. But I would have made that trade. I don't know if anyone else in the chat agrees with me there because Clark Schmidt
does. I actually like Verdugo. I actually like Verdugo too. He's one of the only Red Sox guys that I actually quite like. I just like his energy, and I think he's got a good bat. But it's interesting that Cashman's looking at that because it does seem to signify, considering he is known as kind of a locker room guy, he's got a high energy kind of locker room dude, and he's already pulled the trigger on a couple dudes who are known as quote unquote good locker room guys. You wonder whether that's again something that the Yankees are paying attention to, that there's maybe that the locker room needs a little bit more energy, a little bit more spark. What do you think about that?
Yeah, because you went from having the locker room cancer in Josh Donaldson from last year into this year. And I'm not saying the locker room's like dead, but you had so many issues. Like they had to stick Domingo Germán in a sauna, for crying out loud. Like there's obviously been some issues that we don't know all the details about. But yeah, I mean, you get high energy guys. Remember, even though it was for 1 year where he was really good, AJ Burnett and Nick Swisher, and you combine that with having Damon, just 3 absolute lunatics in the dugout at the same time, but they were having a good time. When Melky Cabrera and Cano and A-Rod's ancient self, and those young guys, they're all parading around. They're having a good time. That's the last time we won a championship. Everyone was having fun. You even saw Jeter crack a smile every once in a while, and he was like the most serious person in the world, but he was having fun with it. Everyone was enjoying themselves, and that's what was so great about 2009. As big as the expectations were, they were still playing the game like a bunch of kids, Spencer. And so you need that. You need guys that want to enjoy the game, and it's going to make everyone else have some fun. So you combine those high energy guys with the kids we have that are going to start coming up and making more of an impact. You got Judge. He loves to have some fun. Glaber's a big energy guy.
They made that trade for Harrison Bader. I think that was the classic example of Cashman trying to acquire someone for the locker room.
Yeah, you need that. You need that because when things get difficult, you need that locker room like that. It's like high school, you know. It's like when you see in the movies, like, hey guys, let's band together, let's get this thing right. I don't think we really had that this year because our main guy was hurt for so long. So it's hard for a guy that's not playing to rally the troops around him. It's difficult to do that. You need that high energy in the clubhouse because look at what it's doing for teams like Baltimore. It's not like Baltimore's blowing people away with their stats, but they're just winning games. You know, look at Atlanta. Atlanta just won their division. There's still like 3 weeks to go, and no one's stopping them. You know, like you need that. You need energy. You need energy in the clubhouse because how long did we see just like these blank expressions from this? Just
well, I mean, a lot of that comes down to Aaron Boone.
Yeah,
I mean, there's only so many times that you can change the coaches. They've changed the batting coach. They've already changed the bench coach. They've changed a bunch of coaches. They've tried to bring in energy guys. At some point, you have to look at the manager. If the manager isn't getting through to them enough, you have to get rid of the manager. That's where I'm at with it. But I do like Verdugo. Would I have given up Clark Schmidt for him? I'm not sure because I've always been a big Clark Schmidt fan. But I do think that Verdugo is someone that would be worth looking at in the next offseason if he is still available because I like his energy and I like his bat. So it's something to keep an eye out on. And I think Yankee fans would like him if he became a Yankee. I think he's got that. I think he'd be likable. But he's obviously not likable as a Red Sox. But
neither was Johnny Damon.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of like him. I've never really had a problem with him.
I think he'd be great on this team, actually, because think about it. Like, we rooted for Kevin Youkilis for the 1 year we had him, and he killed us every time we played him. If David Ortiz went to the Yankees, we would cheer the crap out of David Ortiz. We'd be going Big Poppy, Big Pop. Anyone who says differently is lying. If the guy can help you win, you're not going to care if, he's the play for the Red Sox. Look at Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens would kick our ass when he pitched for Boston and Toronto. And yet when we got him, rocket. Everyone had my first Yankee shirt was a number 12 Roger Clemens shirt. My dad will remember that. So this is before he switched to 22. Everyone loved Roger Clemens. Nobody gave a flying fuck that he pitched for the Red Sox before. Nobody cared that Johnny Damon was a Red Sox. Nobody cared that Euclid was a Red Sox. Nobody cared that Ellsbury was a Red Sox. If he helps you win, you're going to take the guy. So if we traded for Alex Verdugo next year as our stopgap until Dominguez is healthy and then Spencer Jones is ready, I'd sign up for that because Damian brought it up. The dude would hit 25 in the stadium. He would. He absolutely would. He'd have just fine numbers. He plays a good outfield. He would finally avoid having to use 18 different infielders in the outfield. And you give Dominguez the proper time to get ready, get healthy. And it also allows you to see what Spencer Jones is in AAA next year. And then when he's ready, you call him up and you don't have to really invest too much in Verdugo. Now, would I give up Clark Schmidt for him straight up? No, I think we should be getting more back because of the time of service or the roster. The hell am I trying to say? The contract that Schmidt has. He has plenty more years of control. Verdugo would be a 1-year rental. But L.I. mentioned it earlier. We have Thorpe coming up. We have other kids coming up. This might be the time to sell high on Clark Schmidt because he's having a good year, but he's also probably a back end of the rotation guy at best. Yeah. This might be the time to move him. And as much as it would pain me to see him pitching against us 3-4 times a year potentially, it might be the move to make if you can get a big outfield help in Verdugo, and you have so many arms. Again, we also have Nestor next year coming back. We can't forget about Nestor. So if you get Yamamoto, you got 3 rotation spots. They like Michael King. Nestor's still here. Thorpe's coming up. Hampton's coming up. Beater. Clark Schmidt might be one of those sell high now guys, even though it would help you if you just kept him because your rotation is going to be stacked for the next few years. But you can also, hey, we have a strength now. Let's get a need, and we're going to, trade a strength for a need. A lot of teams do that. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but I don't think fans are going to hate Verdugo if he's hitting 25 home runs, only because he used to wear red in the previous 3 seasons.
Agree on trading Schmidt. Yes, they need to give Thorpe a chance. Also have Hampton coming. By the way, Beater caved 13 in 5 innings yesterday. Coming around, I hope. Good points there. I'm wondering whether, if they did trade Clark Schmidt, whether he'd be another Montgomery, where some other organization would get his hands on him and make the most of his plus pitches, and then suddenly he'd become an even better pitcher than just a backhand guy. I wouldn't be surprised because, as we've discussed, it's not a surprise when other teams get a hold of our guys and they become better. It's happened far too many times for mine to be comfortable with. So I like Clark Schmidt a lot. I've liked him since he was coming through. I trusted him when the Yankees started to not trust him, and I'm very, very, very glad that he's come through this year. He's been healthy all year, and he's put up a very decent year. He gives up a lot of traffic on the base paths. That's one thing. He does put up a lot of traffic on the base paths, but he pitches around it, and his numbers would have been much better yesterday with better defense. I think he only would have given up 1 earned run as opposed to the 3 or the 4 runs that were given. The only 3 was charged, but 4 was given against him. I mean, with better defense, that wouldn't have happened. I felt kind of bad for him. He's got good stuff, and I'd like the Yankees to trust him more. And I'm so glad that they kind of did it this year, but they were kind of backed into doing it. I don't know if they would have been as trusting because they didn't give him the job out of camp. So,
well, they had to because of injuries.
Exactly. They had to. That's it. They were forced to doing it because of all the injuries. Would they have given Schmidt this kind of opportunity otherwise?
Would have been the bullpen.
Exactly. So I don't know. I really don't know. But I like Schmidt a lot, and I'm happy for him. I think that it once again shows that when the Yankees put faith in people, it tends to work out. When you put faith in their young guys, instead of just treating them as as an afterthought, it tends to work out more often than not. You've seen it with Volpe, you've seen it with Schmidt, you're seeing it with Peraza. You know, they're giving the shot to Dominguez. They're finally giving a shot to Wells, and by and large, they've been fine, if not better than fine. So, and Florial, wow, who would have
even
thought?
Talk about him yet?
Florial, here we go.
Another hit for him. He had a hit every game except for the first one that he got called up in. So what was he yesterday? He was 1 for 4, scored a couple of runs. So far, he's only hitting 200, but again, he's only been up for 4 games. But he's got a hit in 3 of them. So all this talk, like he strikes out too much. He didn't strike out yesterday. I mean, the guy's making contact. Steve, he's looking good. He's looking fine. He's not looking like we missed out on a potential all-star, but he's looking fine. His defense has been good. Everything we talked about for months when we were needing an outfielder, just call up Florial, because again, we said this the other day. We said this months ago. No one's saying he's the savior. No one's saying he's the answer. But he is certainly a better choice to try and solve your problems in the outfield. And yes, Li, you did say it. I will 1,000% give you credit for that. You said it. But the fact that they never even gave him a shot despite losing an entire depth chart of outfielders, that is, again, a huge shame. And I'm glad to see him produce, because if he does produce the rest of the way through and his numbers just look fine, they keep him next year, and you have a placeholder. You put him in center, you put him in left. He becomes the 4th outfielder when Dominguez is healthy. You can still make a move for a 1-year guy like Verdugo, and you're not going to be holding anybody hostage on the roster. And then it gives you time for Dominguez to get healthy. It gives you time for Jones to get ready. And Florial can be a fine 4th outfielder. You could put him in right field when Judge needs a day. You could put him in center when whoever the center fielder is. He could even be the center fielder to start the season. You could put him in left, and you can sit Verdugo for a day. He offers you so much versatility, and the fact that they never gave him a shot until now is another detriment on this front office. It's another blemish on them. It's missed opportunities they could have had all season long if they called him up sooner, if they called up Wells sooner, given Pereira a shot earlier, given some of these younger arms a legit shot earlier. There's been so many issues with this team, but I'm glad to see Florial playing well. Peraza, guy we talked about for the start of the show, he should have been up a lot sooner. All season he should have been here. So it's amazing what happens when you put, like you just said, when you put faith in some of your young guys and just let them play for an extended period of time and stop yankifying them and going up and down, Scranton shuttle this. Let them play. And more times than not, they're going to be solid players. No one's saying they all have to be Hall of Famers. Not every prospect is going to be Derek Jeter or is going to be Aaron Judge. They just have to be good. That's all we're asking. Just be solid. We had to deal with Jake Bowers, who's still getting at bats at this point, but we've had to deal with so many non-outfielders playing left field this year. It's amazing that we never gave Florial a shot until now. And I'm glad to see him produce, because it gives me hope that they might keep him on next year. Or, like Li just said, maybe you trade him.
Just to pick up on Spence here, Florial, I concede your faith was rewarded. My doubts were countered. I think our only point was, what was the downside in giving Florial a chance? There was zero downside. It wasn't like, oh, he's fantastic, Spence, give him a chance. No, it was just, like, let's look at the bigger picture here. Who are we giving an opportunity to? Willie Calhoun and Jake Bowers and the Little Sisters of the Poor and the dude from down the street and the dude from the grocery store. Why are they not looking at their minor league prospects? It really wasn't a huge statement to make. It's kind of common sense. And Cashman seems to be the only general manager in the sport who would rather look at what's going on down the street just to pick up a dude off the street than looking at what's going on in AAA and giving them a chance, because it really is common sense, guys. It really is. Every other organization, the first thing they do when injuries happen or whenever they need to, they look from within. They look from within and go, right, who can help us at this moment in time? I'm going to take my ego out of it, and I'm going to just look at it with a blank canvas and say, right, who's an outfielder that can help us, that has a little bit of pop and a little bit of defense, a little bit of speed. Florial does that. Why don't I give him a couple of weeks? Why don't I give him a month and see what I can get out of him before I then look at the trade market? That is common sense. You look at the Orioles, you look at the Astros, you look at good organizations, you look at the Rays. What is the first port of call? They look from within. They don't look for the charity shop. They don't look from down the street. They don't look to the A&P to go and get their frickin' outfielder. They look from within. That's common sense. And it was like Brian Cashman and his infinite wisdom is like, no, I would much rather get a bunch of retreads and dudes that haven't proven themselves in the major league level that are veterans than instead of looking at people that have upside, that you can learn from, that can learn and might even give you, if they even if it doesn't work out, you've probably got yourself a trade piece, right? Because they're at the big league level, they're young, and then you could go to another GM and say, right, this guy's 20, 21 years old. He's learning, but you've seen enough that he can play at this level. You've probably got yourself a little bit of a trade piece. You'll never get a trade piece for Jake Bauers or Willie Calhoun. They're not worth anything. They never will be worth anything. Even if they had a good year, they wouldn't be worth anything because they're veterans. They're they're basically quadruple A players, if that. That's what I'm talking about. It's just common sense. And Brian Cashman and the front office should be ashamed of themselves because they wasted a season here when it didn't need to be wasted. And even if one of them just happened to stumble upon this podcast, we've been saying it every other episode. Why are they wasting valuable months of a summer where A, they could still be competitive had they actually made a move earlier, and B, it just didn't make sense what they were doing. They basically tanked the season because Aaron Judge and Rizzo went down. They didn't need to do it. Even if they didn't make the playoffs this year, by still making those moves earlier, you still learn something. You've still learned something. You've still got another valuable month out of Wells and valuable month out of whoever they were going to trust. It just didn't make any sense at all what they were doing. It really is as simple as that. So, like they wasted an opportunity for us to see more of Florial. I think Florial would have been fine. Florial would have had a better year than Jake Bauers. I'd guarantee it. I would put money on it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And you think about, like, if they just had Peraza here all season and stopped trying to trust Josh Donaldson, they could have just cut him at the start of the year and like, screw it, there's no need for you. We got Peraza. And if you would have given Florial that shot in center field instead of guys like bringing in Greg Allen when you cut Aaron Hicks, or calling up Calhoun, or calling up Cordero or Billy McKinney and all these other guys, just these are things that teams do. And Austin Wells should have been called up sooner. You could have skipped AAA entirely. So you could have had so many opportunities to give different people a shot, and the team would have been better. Absolutely would have been better. Would they have been a playoff team? I don't know. But they'd certainly be closer. They probably maybe 4.5, maybe 3.5 games out. They'd be in a much better spot. And that's just because they failed to read the room. You could have had Wells up. Could have had Peraza here the entire season and given a whole year to develop. You could have had Florial, who fell back into your lap, and it would have been a biggest ego boost for your GM had it happened. And these are things that Cashman doesn't do that other teams would. I mentioned it with the Rangers. They gave up on Garcia, and he fell back into their lap. And now he's one of their best players. So, like, I'm not saying Florial is going to turn out to be like that, but you never know. He's got a power swing. He hits from the left side of the plate that usually translates to success at Yankee Stadium. Plays a good defense, which we haven't had all season long in the outfield because Judge has been hurt. Bader's dealt with injuries before we got rid of him, and Giancarlo Stanton can't move. So, and he had speed, which we don't have a lot of. 3 things that you should want, and all it cost you was DFAing Franchy Cordero to free up a 40-man spot. That's all you had to do, and he's still there. He's still on the 40-man roster. So, like, this is what I'm saying is not one of us nobody was calling Florial the savior. I don't even think even LI was saying this dude was going to save the season, but it was just it was such an easy move to make that they didn't make it. That's why we're still complaining about it. It's like, you should have made this months ago. I can understand not doing it in May when Judge got hurt because he was only gone for 10 days. But when Judge hurt his toe and he was gone for a month and a half, 2 months, why didn't you do it then? You could have had a whole half a season of Florial in left field or center field, and you would have gotten a really good look at him. But you're still not going to learn anything in 2 weeks. You're still not learning too much about the guy in 2 weeks. He could hit 500 in these next 2 weeks, and you're like, well, a lot of players have a good 2 week stretch, and then they get cold again. You're not learning a lot still, but it really is a shame, and it goes back to everything we've been saying. They need to clean house of this entire front office. And
that Yankees analytics that said all these clowns were better than what we had in the farm. It's unreal how bad Fishman is at his job. Fishman, I would fire in a New York minute. Like, he has to go. I cannot stand him. He is an absolute disgrace.
He belongs in jail.
He's so bad, man. Like, he's just unbelievably bad at his job. And Brian Cashman and Mike Fishman are like, two of them are like, oh my God. They're like Laurel and Hardy, honestly. The two of them, unbelievably bad at their jobs right now. It's just ridiculous. And look at the Yankees now. They actually play exciting games. Play the kids, and you're going to get exciting games. You're not going to win all of them, but you're seeing better games. You're actually seeing competitive games. You're seeing competitive at-bats. What were we seeing before we made this move? We were seeing bunch of shutouts on a daily basis. We couldn't score a run to save our ass. We couldn't scratch one run across 27 innings. We couldn't do anything. We were boring. We were striking out every at-bat. We were awful. We were pathetic. We didn't give a shit. We start playing the kids, and look what we're doing. We're beating the Astros. We're beating the Red Sox. We're winning a bunch of series. Maybe we should have done this a month earlier. We would still have a season. It's pathetic what the Yankees organization have done. Honestly,
at the break. My dad said it right here at the All-Star break. It's what I was saying.
Yep.
It could have been a soft reset. They were struggling after the break. They lost to the Cubs, and they should have called up Peraza. They should have had Cabrera play every day. They could have called up Pereira at that point. Maybe not as soon as there, but Wells should have been there. And it was right after they hired Sean Casey. I'm like, you have a whole break here to have Casey immediately come talk to Volpe, Peraza, Florial, Wells, Cabrera, all in a few days. You had no games being played. You would have had, 4 days of a break just to get them in a room and look at film and get these kids in the lineup every single day. And you might have been able to save your season. And then you might have been able to go out and make a big move at the deadline, get another bat, even if it was for a Randall Grichuk or a Yeimer Candelario. You could have made a move like that and try to save your season. Instead, you wasted an entire month of July, and then you went into the deadline and didn't do anything. These are things that you're just like, and I hate to keep going back to that August 1st deadline, but they didn't do anything. And I'm just like, how do you not make a single freaking move? And the guy they got, Middleton, hurt, of course. And then the other guy, Howard, they let him go a week ago. So, like, that was your trade deadline. And it's just all these things that you go back from the start of the season to how the team was constructed, to how the season played out, to the failure to make moves when they needed to make moves, not calling up players, trusting Josh Donaldson over Peraza, not trusting Florial when you were trusting Franchi fucking Cordero, and all these things just compiled into one big pile of shit, like in Jurassic Park. That's a big pile of shit. That's the 2023 Yankees. And now you're finally in this final month, you're seeing things to give you a little more excitement, but we're still seeing things that you're like, man, if we had just done this a month earlier, we'd probably still be in the race. But we're 7.5 out. They're not making the playoffs. They might finish above 500. They might finish at 500, but that's all we have to play for now, when you could have been playing for that final wild card spot. And then who knows what happens? Who knows? With the kids, maybe if Dominguez got called, I don't know. I don't know if Dominguez would have still gotten hurt or not, but you don't know what this team could have done in a playoff series. They could have surprised some people. You never know. But you would have been closer now if you had just made these moves. And all of these guys came from within. No one was saying you had to go trade for Florial. You have to go trade for Peraza. No, you just call them up. And we're trusting Higashioka every day, and we're trusting Calhoun's and Bowers and McKinney's. Like, it made no sense. And I have nothing against Jake Bowers and Billy McKinney. I don't. But they're not guys that are going to help you make a playoff. They're not guys that are going to help you in the playoff race. They're guys that are going to help you for a few days when you're waiting for a guy to come back. Not a guy that's going to be here from like fucking May till September. That's how long Bowers has been here. He's been here all year. And it wasn't until McKinney got hurt they finally made another move. Like, it's frustrating. It is frustrating, and I'm praying that next year we see a completely different front office, because Fishman needs to be in prison. Cashman needs to be in his cell with him, and so does Angel Hernandez, by the way. I watched the
they
video.
wouldn't be a threat in the same jail cell together. They couldn't even come up with a prison's break between the two of them.
They
honestly.
try to escape. Fishman would.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? There's like a video. It's like from a comedy show. The dude's like cutting the wall with a spoon. He's like, "What are you trying to cut to the next cell?" That's Cashman and Fishman trying to break out of prison. They can't. They're not going to be able to get out.
I would not worry the two of them together. If I were the guards, I'd be like, just leave them to it. I don't even need to watch them. I don't. These two of them, they're complete idiots. If you look at Brian Cashman's resume and Mike Fishman's resume over the last 2 years, and like good deal, bad deal, fire, jettison into space, most of the deals would have been jettison into space. That's how bad we're talking, or most of these decisions, not just fire, but jettison into space would be where we're at with the, like, Rizzo playing with a freaking concussion for 3 months, jettison into space for that, not being able to tie down Aaron Judge and then trying to embarrassing him publicly, jettison into space for that, right? Trusting Willie Calhoun and dudes from down the street and the dude that's selling Pepsi, the Pepsi vendor, and left field instead of actual minor league talent, jettison into space. That's what I'm talking about. It's just been an absolute shit show from this front office. An absolute shit show. Incredible. But at least we have some things to be positive about. I am very excited about this young talent. I'm excited to see them develop over this next month. And I can't wait to see them next year. I think a couple of them deserve the job coming out of spring training next year. And a nice mix between youth and veterans. The thing is, the league was basically screaming at Brian Cashman to move on from Josh Donaldson, because no one else would have made that decision. No one else would have made that decision to go with Josh Donaldson over Peraza. No one else. I can guarantee you, if you listed every other GM in the world, and they'd be looking at that going, I'm sorry, this is a sunk cost. This guy can't hit. This guy is a negative influence in the clubhouse. He's 38. And he's costing me $50 million, or do I go with one of the top prospects in baseball? Because Peraza at one point was one of the top prospects in baseball. So I don't think any other GM would have made that bad decision, and it's a huge, catastrophically bad decision. And it wasted valuable at-bats and development time for Peraza. But at least we're seeing him now, and he's squaring up the pitches, and he's crushing them over the Green Monster. And the Yankees beat the Red Sox, so pretty nice.
Yeah, a couple of things to be excited about. But again, it really, and as much as people want to see Boone gone, he's not going anywhere. He's not.
Oh, God, say that to me.
I mean, Aaron Judge vouched for him last week. That might as well have extended Boone's contract another 6 years. He ain't going anywhere. And yeah, I mean, next year is the last year. If they fail again like this next year, then Boone is gone. But I can't see a scenario where they fire him, because it's going to make him look like the scapegoat. And do I like Aaron Boone? No. Do I think he's a great manager? No. Do I think he can be a good manager? Sure. I think he can be, if not given a script to follow every single game for an entire season. You can't script the season. You cannot do it in baseball, and they try to. But one thing we do know is the players do like him. Aaron Judge likes him. They like him for a reason. And if they fire him and don't fire anybody else, it's not fair to Boone, because let's be honest here, there's no manager in baseball that's going to survive this season with this team. he was dealt such a tough hand. Such a tough hand. I'm not excusing him for everything because he's cost us some games. He has. He's cost us at least 5, which puts us right back in the thick of things. But he's also had to deal with a roster of literal garbage for a good portion of the season, whether it's veterans not producing or relying on retreads and minor league has-beens. He has been dealt a tough hand. So I think he will be here next year, but next year will be his last shot. And it might be 2025 that we see a new manager. Because if we see him fired after this year, I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised.
Well, I need a bottle of Pepto-Bismol if I have to put up with and Gaviscon if I have to put up with another year of Aaron Boone. But I do agree with you that Aaron Boone is not the reason why this Yankee team couldn't do anything this year. He'd only be third or fourth on the list of major problems. But he's still a problem, and I stand by it because this Yankee team, prior to this past year or two, was loaded and ready for bear with a better manager. So he screwed that up. So I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt for the fact that he's walked into a team that sucks this year, and so they're a 500 team because that's what they are, but with a better manager, hey, maybe they would have been more competitive. I don't know. You don't know. I think that with a better manager, you might have snuck a couple more wins. It might have been a slightly better team. But at the end of the day, this is Cashman and Fishman's disaster, and they have to wear it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't build a team the way they built a team and then immediately blame them.
Without a left fielder, without a closer guy.
And that's why I have a hard time pinning everything on Boone. Is he a part of the problem? Absolutely he is. But if I'm going to be like, who's to blame for this? And a lot of people are going to be like, it's Aaron Boone. But a lot of people, when you ask them the question, who would you rather see let go, Cashman, Hal, or Boone? A lot of people say Boone. And I'm like, you're leaving the main source of the problem here if you fire Aaron Boone. And the main source of the problem just got a 4-year extension. So, again, you can blame Aaron Boone all you want, but until you cut the head off the fucking snake, going to keep going this way. So I'm just hoping that Hal steps up next year. That's what I'm hoping for, is that we're starting to see little signs of it. And I've been saying this for the last few weeks, little signs of Hal stepping up more and more. And NFE's brought it up earlier as well. That's what we need. Absolutely need it.
50 to 60 IL stints, 54. I mentioned it yesterday. Hector mentioned it yesterday. Salute to Hector. Holy Moses, 54, 55 IL stints. That's impossibly ridiculous.
Yep.
Again, squarely at the foot of our front office and training staff, how they've managed to put together this roster. But I don't want to end on a negative note. We beat the Red Sox. We beat the Red Sox over the series as pretty darn good. There's a lot of things to be positive about for next year. We're building for next year. And it's exciting to see these kids that we've all been campaigning for, everyone in the chat, everyone in this podcast, everyone in Yankee universe. I've been wanting to see these kids. They're getting to see these kids, and these kids are stepping up. Now, they're not all looking like all-stars, and heck, some of them might not even make it over the course of their big league career. But there's certainly a couple right there that I can see that have a big future wearing pinstripes, and it's going to be very, very exciting to see. So that's something to be excited about moving forward. And I think I have optimism for 2024. Sometimes awful things need to happen for an organization to wake up, because the Yankees were filling themselves up with a false sense of security, and they weren't looking at the red flags, and there was a ton of red flags last year and they ignored it. A ton of red flags the year before and they ignored that, and the year before that and they ignored it. They have been ignoring all these red flags, but they can't ignore it anymore. And finally, they've woken up and they've made a decision. Let's give the kids a chance, and it's paying off. It's not rocket science. Yeah. Pay attention to the red flags, learn from your mistakes, and you will be a better organization moving forward. And we're finally seeing that from the Yankees.
Yep. And Dev, happy anniversary to your parental units, to your parents, mom and pop. 44 years.
Damn.
That's impressive. It's also Bobby Tats celebrating an anniversary today. So anyone's wondering why he's not here, he is he's celebrating with the wife. His we love Bobby Tats. And I'm excited for the season too.
Happy anniversary, Uncle T.
Yes, happy anniversary to Uncle T, and of course to Mrs. Tats. She is awesome. Look, sometimes you find a good one. Bobby Tats found a good one. Mrs. T is the best. Makes every time you see Bobby Tats with that mug, that coffee mug. I haven't had it with me for a little while, but there's the coffee mug right there. I've got what are those things called? The coolers, the thermos, whatever it is. But she made it. She's the best. Bobby Tats, you're the best. We hope to see you again. He'll be back Monday. Bobby Tats is going to be here Monday. We don't got to worry about that. But that, in case anyone's wondering where he is, Bobby Tats is also celebrating. So,
salute. Dev Finch, I'm very sorry to hear that, but prayers up. It's tough. It is tough. But thanks to everyone in the chat today. It's been a lot of fun. Chat a bit of Yankee Red Sox, chat a bit about prospects, a lot of things to look forward to in 2024, and of course our daily Brian Cashman rant. I'm pretty happy, pretty satisfied with that. Sunil, happy anniversary to Uncle Grandpa Tats and anyone else celebrating. Salute, Sunil. Well, that'll do us for today. Thank you so much to everyone. I'm not going to sign off with Uncle Tats saying, because that's specifically for Uncle Tats, but I will say salute to all you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next podcast. Goodbye.
Go Yanks.